Hey, let me tell you a story. He showed up every summer. Same beach, same clubs, same smile. Nobody knew his real name. But everyone remembered the way he looked. Olive skin, black eyes. A white shirt always half unbuttoned. He spoke like he was from Spain or somewhere close enough to sound expensive. The accent made girls laugh. The jawline made them stay. He didn't chase, he waited. Leaned by the bar, smiled at the right moment. Made it feel like fate. It was always blondes. Not redheads, not brunettes, only blondes. The kind that grew up too fast or trusted too easily. He picked them from the crowd like a DJ picking the next track. Smooth, confident, inevitable. Then he took them for a walk, said he knew a better place. A quiet spot near the water, just them and the waves. He always had the same setup, a bottle of champagne, to plastic, glasses, a folded blanket. It looked spontaneous, but wasn't. He planned every inch of it. He poured one drink, just enough, said he didn't drink much. They thought it was sweet, responsible, safer, but the pill worked fast. They laughed a little more, their words slurred. He offered to walk them home, or back to his place. It didn't matter. They never argued. He looked too good, too normal. He could walk them down the street and no one would blink. People thought he was a boyfriend helping his drunk girlfriend, the perfect gentleman. The neighbors in his building knew him as the guy who played music late but was always polite. They never asked questions. They never knocked. He had everything prepared. One room, soundproofed perfectly, not just with foam, but layered, engineered. He was a DJ. He understood acoustics. He knew how to kill sound before it touched the walls. The room was lined with plastic. Floor to ceiling, easy to clean, easy to tear down in minutes. It could become a music studio again if anyone ever looked inside. But nobody ever did. The music was always loud enough. Heavy bass, pulsing rhythms, the kind that made the walls shake. They thought he was working on new tracks, mixing beats, testing sound. They didn't know it wasn't music. It was screaming. It was fists against restraints. It was the beginning of something much darker than anyone imagined. And by the time the neighbors turned down their TVs or stuffed pillows over their heads, the girl was already inside. The door was locked. The lights were on. And he was smiling. He didn't rush. That was the key. Everything about him was measured, controlled. The girl was usually drifting by the time he closed the door. Dizzy, weak, mouth half open. She would ask something soft. Where am I? Can I lie down? He always nodded, always smiled. He helped her to the room, told her to rest, said he'd get her some water, some ice, something sweet. She was never scared yet, just confused. And that was the window, that perfect space between awareness and fear. That was where he worked best. The room didn't look like a dungeon. It looked clean, white, minimal. The plastic on the walls shimmered under soft light. The chair sat in the center, bolted to the floor. Metal cuffs, leather straps, already waiting. He didn't have to drag them. They walked there on their own, trusting, stumbling, blind. The worst part was the kindness. The way he held her arm like she might fall. The way he brushed her hair back before it began. He always started the same way, the part no one would ever understand unless they saw it, unless they smelled it, unless they heard the sound a spoon makes when it meets an eye socket. He never changed that part. It was his ritual, his signature. The first scream was the sharpest, the one that made the lights flicker, the one that made the music spike. He adjusted the volume like a professional, knew exactly when to mask the sound and when to let it rise. It was a dance. He'd step back, wipe his hands, watch the blood drip onto plastic. Then he moved on. Nails, teeth, skin, not in chaos, never in chaos, always one part at a time. He called it sequencing, like a track, like layers building tension. He didn't kill them, not right away. That wasn't the point. The goal was to reach the edge, to push the body so far that the mind gave up, the heart collapsed, pure stress. Total shutdown. It worked more often than not. He knew the signs, the stuttering breath, the pale lips, the twitch before stillness, and when it ended, he always looked at the body with something like respect. Not love, not regret, just quiet. Then came the cleanup. Routine, methodical. He had one bag. Always the same, a large black travel bag with a zipper that stuck halfway. Neighbors saw it often, thought he was off to a gig, heading out for the weekend. No one asked why it looked heavy. No one cared. He used the bathtub. Cold water. Sharp knives. No hesitation. No panic. He'd done this enough to be efficient. The pieces went in carefully, wrapped, compressed, layered. On top, he placed dumbbell weights. Always the same number. Enough to pull it all down. Deep. Out past the breakers. Past the buoys. Into the black. Into silence. Miami swallowed everything. It never gave anything back. He knew which streets had no cameras, which elevators didn't creak, which neighbors stayed up late, and which ones didn't ask questions. Miami was good to him, loud enough to cover the sounds, bright enough to blur the shadows. He blended in. Women remembered his smile. Bartenders remembered his tips. Nobody remembered the girls. Not really. They thought maybe she left. Maybe she got bored. Maybe she went home with someone else. Nobody called the police. Not fast enough. Not loud enough. And by the time they did, she was already gone. He chose his nights like a surgeon choosing a scalpel. Only when the weather was right. Only when the water was calm. Some nights he would stand on the balcony with a drink in hand, looking out at the ocean, thinking about his mother, about the woman who screamed at him for no reason, who threw plates, who passed out in her own filth, and then about the girl he loved, the only one, the one with the laugh and the blonde curls and the soft voice that promised forever. She left. She cheated. She called him obsessive, controlling. She said she was scared. So he showed her what fear really felt like. She was the first, the practice, the beginning of everything. The others came after. The copies, the echoes, each one blonde, each one smiling like she had no idea she just walked into the last night of her life. He didn't think of himself as evil. That word was too simple. He thought of himself as clean, efficient, honest. He didn't lie. He didn't trick. He offered something and they took it. A drink, a walk, a kiss. They chose. He only finished what they started. The studio stayed ready. Plastic replaced weekly. Knife sharpened. Music playlist timed to mask every scream. He even named the tracks. Track 1, Track 2, Track 3. He sensed them to the stages. Arrival. Resistance. Collapse. Sometimes it took an hour. Sometimes 3. It depended on the girl, on how much she fought, on how long her body could take the stress. He never adjusted the plan. He didn't need to. It always ended the same way. Same bag, same weight, same routine. He drove at night, car windows down, music low, torso, limbs, head, everything in layers. He parked by the dock. No one there, just gulls and moonlight and the sound of the water breathing. He never hesitated, walked down the ramp like he belonged there. One throw, that's all it took. No ceremony, no prayer, just silence. Then home, shower, bleach, air freshener, back, to bed. Next night, he went out again. Maybe a different club, maybe a rooftop party, maybe a beach bonfire, wherever the blondes laughed the loudest, wherever the music made their guard drop. He was always patient, always polite, always watching. And when he smiled, they smiled back. Because monsters don't look like monsters. Not in summer. Not in Miami. Not when they're beautiful. He knew it couldn't last forever. Not because he felt guilt. He didn't. But because patterns leave shadows. Even in a city like Miami. Especially when the same kind of girl keeps disappearing. Blonde. Drunk. Last seen smiling. The cops didn't connect it at first. They never do. The reports were scattered. Some from tourists, some from locals, different ages, different backgrounds. But someone always notices, a sister, a friend, a father who didn't hear back. It started with a post online, then another, then a podcast. A girl said she met him, that she got away. No proof, no face, just a story. But it spread. People started whispering. Girls became cautious. Bartenders paid more attention. Even the bouncers started to recognize his smile. So he changed tactics. Fewer parties, more private events, rooftop bars, VIP lounges. But it wasn't the same. The thrill came from the beginning, from watching them choose him. Without pressure, without force, he didn't want to hunt. He wanted to be wanted, and they still did, just slower now, more careful. He adapted, but deep down, he knew the end was coming. The last girl was different. Blonde, yes. Pretty, yes, but sharp. She didn't drink too much. She asked questions. She noticed the plastic glasses. She saw the bag by the door. When he offered a toast, she smiled and faked the sip. He didn't notice. He was too used to the rhythm. Too confident, too bored, she pretended. Let him lead her out. Let him talk. Let him bring her home. But when he turned around to lock the door, she hit him, hard, fast, right in the throat. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She pulled a knife from her purse. She had come prepared. She had heard the podcast. She had seen the signs. And she wanted proof, wanted to see the room. So she made him take her there, at blade point, through the hallway, past the speakers, into the silence. And when she saw the chair, the straps, the bloodstains he forgot to clean, she knew. She stabbed once, twice, then dropped the knife and ran. The police were waiting. She had called them before the date even started. They found him on the floor, alive, barely. The room told the rest. Plastic, tools, videos, hair, jewelry, and a list. Not names, just numbers. 22, all blondes. All vanished. He never confessed, not a single word, just silence. Even when the jury read the verdict, even when the judge gave him life, even when the families cried. But one guard said something strange. He claimed he heard him laugh, just once, in the middle of the night. Said it was soft, almost like music, like he'd finished the final track. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, because the next one might be even worse.